Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death here in the United States. Let's talk about it. I'm here today with my dear friend, Sally Dorn, who has made me a part of her family for the last 20 years, she and her daughters. Thank you so much for being here today, Sally.
Oh, thank you, Holly, for having me here. It's always wonderful to be in your presence.
Thank you.
And we have been lucky to have you as part of our family at all our weddings, at our baby showers, at our birthday parties. I remember my 50th birthday party, and you were quite in attendance that night. I love you.
I love you too. Oh. Well, Sally and I are here to really help bring some awareness to a devastating epidemic that is claiming 121 lives a day here in the United States. Suicide. And unfortunately, Sally is very personally acquainted with this horrific epidemic. So this right here, Team Michele, this is what we'd like to speak with Sally about today. Sally, tell me who Michele was. I know the little bit that I know because I was gifted with her presence for a few years. But you, tell me about her.
Well, Holly, Michele, as you know, was my oldest daughter. I have 3 daughters, and Michele was born when I was 21. And I used to always say we, in a way, grew up together. We were extremely close, as one would be in that situation. But I'm close to all my daughters. Michele was a beautiful young child. She was a beautiful woman. She died when she was 31 from suicide. At the time, she was a City of Atlanta police officer, but also a 3rd-year law school student at Georgia State University. She was a mother of a 2.5-year-old son, Nicholas. She was a sister. She was a niece, a cousin, a friend, a classmate, and a co-worker. And people loved her. When Michele walked into a room, she lit up the room. She had a beautiful smile that could change your day if you saw it. I miss her so much, and it was such a loss when she died. She was out of work or off work. She had been injured at her job and I think lost her way and attempted to take her life. She survived for 2 weeks, a week at Grady and a week at Eggleston. And then the injuries were just too great and we lost her. And I just believe that suicide is preventable with the right interventions. If people are aware of what they can do to help someone, we might have been able to save Michele. I've always said that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And for Nicholas to have lost his mother, for me to have lost my child, for my daughters to have lost their sister, it is such a tragedy. And to this day, we miss her as much as we missed her the first day after she died.
So Sally, you mentioned prevention. What is there? What can we do to help prevent this horrible epidemic?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I didn't know much about suicide before this happened. And what I have learned over the years after this is that it's important, if you know someone that is depressed or someone that seems to be pulling away, someone who has been diagnosed. Michele was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and actually she had started medication 2 days before her suicide attempt. And in many young adults, medication often or can lead to a suicide attempt. And so one of the regrets I have is that because Michele was a police officer, she had access to a weapon. and I perhaps should have asked to have her weapon stored in my home while she was undergoing her treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder. I think what I've learned is that we need to be aware that sometimes people begin this dark journey and what they need is light. And a kind word can be a light, a hand reached out to someone can be a light. And I think we all just need to take the time to look at the people around us and be aware of their circumstances and try to be that light to help them avoid a consequence such as Michele had.
Sally, thank you so much for being so generous and sharing such a personal story with all of us. And I know that it's with a great purpose. And the purpose is to help prevent suicide. I know that you are involved with this incredible walk. It's called the Out of Darkness Walk. Am I correct?
That's right.
Okay. Can you tell all of us a little bit about that and how it became?
Yes, I'd be happy to tell you about it. It's interesting. I mean, for the last 16 years, I've struggled with this personal sadness. Our family has struggled with our joint sadness. And about 10 years ago, my middle daughter, Amy, discovered an Out of the Darkness walk that was an overnight walk in New York, and you walked all night long. And she decided to do that on her own. She had a boyfriend with her, and they walked together. And she said it was an incredible experience, but it was horribly, horribly sad for her by herself with this young man who didn't know Michele as her only support. And I guess maybe it was 5 years later, it was 5 years ago, that my youngest daughter, Margaret, discovered that there was an Out of the Darkness walk in Atlanta. And I guess we had been so busy with our personal grief that we had not looked around to see, what are the resources for suicide survivors? What are the resources to prevent suicide? And we discovered the organization, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and they sponsor the Out of the Darkness walks. And there's Out of the Darkness walks on college campuses, in communities, and then there's the overnight ones that take place in 2 different cities each year. So at Margaret's behest, we signed up and we gathered a team of maybe 15 people to walk. This was 5 years ago in our first walk. And being together with people who knew Michele, people who remembered her, who cared about her, it was such a wonderful feeling, and it was such a wonderful way to honor her memory. So we felt that we were accomplishing something really wonderful for us, in that it was helping us to heal. And we also were able to raise awareness about suicide and suicide prevention, and to raise funds to support AFSP's suicide prevention and suicide survivor services that they provide. So it was beyond a win-win. I mean, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I think the thing that I hold dearest to me about it is that every year it gives Nicholas, Michele's son, a chance to meet and be with people who knew his mother and knew her at different stages in her life and could share memories with him about who she was. And to me, that's so important, because he was so young when she died. I'm sorry. It's, even to this day, it's a terrible loss. And we all need to do what we can to prevent suicide.
We have to start saving lives. We have to put an end to this horrific epidemic. Sally, what can we do? How do we sign up?
Well, The Out of Darkness Walk in Atlanta is the first Sunday in November every year in Piedmont Park. And you can sign up to join Team Michele. We're trying to gather as many members as Michelle's age is each year. And you can donate as well to any person walking in the Out of Darkness Walk. Together, I think the goal is to have approximately 3,000 people walking this year in Piedmont Park to support AFSP's goal. And their goal is to reduce suicide by 20% by the year 2025. And I think that's a great goal. What I would love to see is that we eradicate suicide.
Me too. I'm there. I'm going to be at the walk. I'm on Team Michele. Look at the link below and you can find information on how to sign up and how to support. Thank you, Atlanta.
Please join Holly and me, my family, and our many friends and walk with us on Team Michele the first Sunday in November. You also can find information about the Out of the Darkness Walk, AFSP and its programs, and most importantly, suicide prevention.